Most people assume that if water looks like this, you're in trouble. But what if this could be safe to drink? We've all experienced power outages, boil advisories, and times when we've realized that we're all way more dependent on the grid than we thought. And when the power goes out, the pumps stop. And when the pumps stop, the water stops. So I decided to build something practical, a completely portable, battery-powered water filtration system that can turn even the dirtiest water from a puddle, a pond, a hot tub, even a toilet into fresh, safe drinking water for my family. And the best part, I built this whole system for less than 300 bucks. And so today I'm gonna show you exactly how I did it, what parts I used, what worked and what didn't, because I wanna know that when it comes to drinking water for my family, I have options. So I went a little crazy on the shopping cart, and we're gonna see if we can turn all of this stuff into clean drinking water. So we need a way to suck the water or pump the water, and we need a way to filter the water and disinfect the water. This is a 12-volt pump that you can find in basically any RV. This is a miniature filter housing. I've never seen one this small before. Finally, we need to purify the water. Found a teeny tiny LED-driven UV light. So it uses ultraviolet light to break down the cell walls of bacteria or viruses and keep them from being able to reproduce. We pump the water, we filter the water, we sterilize the water.
That seems too easy.
I had this pack out left over from another project, and my goal is gonna be to try to fit all of this stuff inside this pack out. How does that even fit? How is that even possible? Filter, and then UV light. What I'm wondering is if I could just thread that on and drill that hole, I could eliminate an entire set of fittings. That seems like a good idea. Oh, whoa, it's a reverse thread. There we go. That was unexpected. Here's some safety glasses for you guys too. I feel like this has to be in like the exact, precise, perfect spot, which is approximately right here. Generally more of a thread sealant kind of guy, but I didn't really want to make a huge mess in here because I have a feeling I'm going to be taking this stuff apart again. You think I'm just going to get it right on the first try?
Lucky Riley.
Lucky Riley. I like that. So this is a bulkhead fitting that's basically going to let us mount a hose bib on the outside of the box. I'm threading the bulkhead directly onto the pump. Now the ticket is like that. Woo! Oh, Courtney, that's perfect. We'll tighten that down a little bit. Isn't that cool? I can't believe how well that fits. I practically don't have to mount it, but I think we should probably mount it. I scrounged through my box of treasures and I found hardware. And if you don't look too close, it almost all matches. So just a me thing, or does everyone have that like old coffee can full of a million nuts and bolts? Well, I think my goal of this project is to make something that we can use in an emergency, but also to make something that we could take with us like camping or on an adventure or RVing, and you're going to a gas station and you don't know what's coming out of the hose at the gas station. You could run it through this. I actually had a part-time job right after college as a water treatment operator. I was a California board licensed T1 level operator. My job was basically to go out to like the rest stops in the county, you know, the side of the road rest stops. Each one of those has its own little independent water system because they service so many people and they're all on wells. It's actually pretty heavily regulated, the water quality there. So my job was to go out and collect water samples to then take to the lab to do the water testing. I learned a lot back then. I'm sure I've forgotten most of it by now. But a lot of the basics still, you know, carry down about how to treat water, how to think about water, and how to make it so the water's safe to drink for servicing a lot of people. Now the question is there gonna be room to change the filter? Probably should have checked this before we tightened all the screws. Did you see that? Look. No, we're good. Perfect. For our plumbing inside the box, pretty much just because of space constraints, we're switching to 1/4-inch tubing like what you'd find on a refrigerator ice maker. And then I found these ice maker adapters so that we can get to 1/4-inch tubing. First I was gonna do 1/2-inch PEX, but I think it was just gonna be too difficult to fit everything inside this box. And The UV light that we're using has a flow limit of 1 gallon per minute to be effective. So 1/4 inch tubing is gonna be just fine for 1 gallon a minute. Okay, now same thing on the other side. I just do anything I possibly can to make fittings not leak. So I've started using the more expensive name brand blue tape, but I am curious from like the pros that watch, is the Monster tape better than the generic white tape that costs half the price? Another pro tip from an amateur is when you use Teflon tape, make sure you wrap it around the way that you thread the fitting on so that the tape gets tighter when you put your fitting on instead of unraveling.
Oh.
Yeah. And now the key is to tighten this so tight that you break it.
Is that the key?
No. This stuff's pretty cool. It's got a little O-ring inside there that goes around the outside of the tubing. So all you have to do is just, that's it. And if you want to take it out, you just push this little ring in and you can take it off.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
I've never had one leak. There we go. Now the pump and the filter are connected. Next up, we've got our pump, sucks the water in. We've got our filter that takes the dirt out of the water. Now we need our UV light that sterilizes the water. This works by basically exposing pathogens, virus and bacteria that might make it through the filter to UV light. Highly effective if the water is clean. If you have turbidity in your water or like cloudiness in your water, then that shades the UV light and it makes it so that pathogens could hide behind the little particles that are making the water cloudy. So it's very important that first the water be clean down to 0.5 microns. The special thing about this UV light is that it's LED and it's 12 volt. It was actually pretty hard for me to find a 12 volt LED water purifiers. Oh, and the other reason I chose 1/4 inch tubing was because this already had 1/4 inch tubing fittings on it. So it was gonna be our smallest plumbing denominator anyways. Okay, and that can loop back around again and go out the side. I think that's gonna work. I'm gonna cut the tails. So the water comes into the pump, through the filter, through the UV light, and now it needs to go out the other side of the box through another one of these bulkheads with hose threads on it. But first, we're gonna install our flow restrictor right here into the bulkhead to make sure that we only can have as much as 1 gallon per minute coming out the other end. This has a silicone rubbery gasket down there that's gonna seal against tears, so we're actually not gonna use Teflon on this. All right, there we go. Cut the tubing right here, final answer. And connected. And now we're done with all the plumbing, which means it's time to move on to the electrical that's going to power the pump and the UV light. This is a 12 volt RV pump. This is a 12 volt light, so they need a 12 volt DC power source. I really wanted to figure out how to use a drill battery so I didn't have to buy a new battery to power this thing. The problem is these batteries are all in like the 18 to 20 volt range, and these things are 12 volt. And then I found this. This is a DC step down converter that's rated for 20 amps, so it's got plenty of power rating for what we're doing, and it accepts a drill battery. They make these for basically every popular manufacturer of batteries. Turns out these are actually for Power Wheels, like to adapt drill batteries to kids' Power Wheels toys. This came with the fuse and the on-off switch. So this is one of the dividers that this pack out came with. And now this is a hole for our plumbing to pass through. Courtney and I live fully off grid, and we have basically a large version of this that serves as for our water needs. But a few weeks ago, we had a major windstorm and a bunch of power outages in our area. And there were a lot of people that even if they lived on private wells, were out of water simply because they didn't have power and didn't have a way to get to it. And it just had me thinking about how vulnerable we all are in the event of a grid outage when we rely on either electricity to access our water or somebody else to deliver our water for us. Even a community water system where if the power was out for long enough, the pumps would have to turn off eventually, even if they have backup generators. Eventually, if the power is out for long enough, you're probably gonna be out of water. But this time of year up here in Idaho, there's water everywhere, in the ditches, on the sides of the roads, in people's hot tubs, in the swimming pool. I mean, we have one of the biggest lakes in the country right here. It is so close, Courtney. I don't know how that ended up so close. I thought we tested that. That UV light came with a 12 volt power supply, but we just want the wire from this. So, and then I'm not a hoarder, but I'm gonna put this in my little bin because that would be perfect for powering tape light. This kind of reminds me of when we built our truck camper and we put all of everything mechanical and utilities like all under that little bench in the front. So water tank, water pump, all the batteries, the inverter.
We didn't have filtration.
No, we didn't have, at least we didn't have filtration like this. We just had like a ice maker filter. So we had to be really careful about where we got water from. And it was kind of a pain to find water when we were on the road, living in a camper full time, begging gas stations to let us use their hose.
And hoping that.
Oh, and then just kind of, just like hoping that their hose was clean. And that plugs in there. So now I'm stripping the wires for the pump. This pump has a pressure switch built in. So basically it'll build water pressure till it hits 45 PSI. And then this switch up here will just turn the water pump off. And then when the water pressure drops below, I think 35 PSI, the switch will turn on again. It'll turn the pump back on again. So using this style of pump also saved us the complication of trying to figure out how to control the pump. It'll just control itself and basically turn off and on as needed. That UV light has a flow switch in it. So the UV light will only turn on when water is flowing through it, which will further save power. These are my favorite general use crimp connectors. They're the marine grade ones. So they have the heat shrink tubing is already built into them. So this is heat shrink tubing, and they have a marine adhesive inside them that seals from water and also gives a really strong mechanical connection for the wires. I find that they last a long time. And because they're clear like this, you can really tell that you got a good connection, that your wire's actually in there, unlike the ones that you can't see through. So it's always hard to make a 3-wire splice. This is the negative to the pump and the negative to the UV light. So we're gonna be putting those two in a connector together like that. Also, if you don't have a ratcheting style crimp connector tool, I'd highly recommend it. And then this is the negative from that DC step-down transformer that's letting us use the drill battery to power all of this. And then now these two go together. This is the positive wire from the pump and from the UV light. This is the positive lead from the step-down transformer. So that step-down transformer is taking the power from 18 to 20 volts that the drill battery puts out, and it's stepping it down to 12 volts DC. I honestly didn't know those existed before this project, and 20 amps at 12 volts is, it's what, 240 watts? That's enough to power a lot of stuff. So it's pretty satisfying. This last step is sort of optional, but I think it's the part I'm almost most excited about because I think it's really clever. This is our 0.5 micron activated charcoal filter for filtering sediment, and then the activated charcoal reduces like bad taste from volatile organics or chlorine. So things like solvents, oils, gasoline, like that's what the activated charcoal is gonna get out, and chlorine. And then I found this. This is a filter that would normally go inside of like one of these housings. You've probably seen these housings before. And this is a stainless, washable, reusable 5 micron filter. So unlike the pleated paper ones, which are really inexpensive and you could throw away. And so rather than putting it inside of one of these, this is gonna become our suction screen or pickup tube. This is gonna be the weighted thing that goes on the end of the hose that we throw out into the pond when we're sucking our water in. I feel like I have such a simple solution for how to do this. This is one of those make it your own length sprinkler risers. You ever seen these before? Basically, when you're installing sprinklers, you need the sprinkler head to be at a certain height. And so all these little threaded sections, you just cut it off to whichever one you need to make it the right height. But that gets me the perfect length pipe nipple. So we're gonna be putting this cap on one side. We need to drill out this washer. Silicone gaskets came with this filter. And we need to be able to get water through to the inside of this tube. So I just need to cross drill a few holes in it. Then it looks like I need to take one section off. Washer. It's gonna form a nice surface to go against our silicone gasket. And then this is a fitting that is pipe thread on one side, hose thread on the other, so we'll be able to hook it up to a garden hose. And there's our pickup tube screen. 5-micron filter that we just stick straight in the water, and then the filtered water comes out the inside. Maybe it's just me. I thought that was a pretty clever design. Very inexpensive and very simple. Let's be honest, you're probably not taking a multivitamin, a probiotic, a prebiotic, a greens powder, adaptogens, whatever that means. What am I supposed to be taking? An entire bottle full of pills every morning? That's where Athletic Greens comes in, and they're the sponsor of today's video. It's 1 scoop in water. Done. Instead of trying to piece together a supplement stack, AG1 combines probiotics, prebiotics, vitamins, minerals, superfoods, and adaptogens into one daily drink designed to support gut health, immune health, and cognitive function. Because here's the part that I used to overlook. My gut health has a massive impact on how I feel day to day. Energy, digestion, mental clarity, a lot of it starts there. And this isn't just marketing. AG1 NextGen is actually backed by clinical trials. If you want to check it out, we've got a link down below. Super simple habit, takes 30 seconds, and it's one less thing you have to think about. Make sure to use our link in the description below to get an AG1 flavor sampler and a bottle of vitamin D3 plus K2 free with your first subscription. That's a $72 value for free with your first subscription.
Final step.
Final step, I think it's almost time to check for leaks. So we're just gonna install the 1/2 micron filter. So 1/2 micron, teeny, tiny. How thick is a human hair? 1,000 microns, I think. 50 to 100 microns. So a human hair is 50 to 100 microns. So 1/2 micron would be more than 100 times smaller than a single human hair. Did I do that math right? The idea is that this filter is gonna remove any particle size that could be harmful to humans, but we can't guarantee it, and that's where the UV light comes in. So basically every 1,000 gallons, you'd have to change out this filter more often if you were putting heavily chlorinated water in, because that chlorine is gonna consume the active charcoal that's in here. This is basically just a mini version of a whole house filter. So if you wanted a filter that lasted longer, you could also just use a bigger box and put a bigger filter in here. Okay, there we go. Now I think it's time to check for leaks. I can smell the chlorine. Most municipal water is going to be chlorinated very lightly, just because they have very little control of what happens downstream from the water plant. And so by lightly chlorinating the water, it keeps all the pipes and everything clean and sterile in the entire system, all the way to your home. It's such a small amount of chlorine that it'll usually just gas off in a small period of time, but a filter like this can also remove that chlorine and make it, it's mostly for taste. So this is our inlet hose. This will be an interesting test to see if that pump can actually prime while lifting. And now this is our outlet pump after the filter and the UV light. So this is our outlet port that comes after the filter and the UV light. So this is the theoretically clean water. Make sure the switch is off. Plug the battery in. Now, as soon as we flip that switch, this pump should just turn on, and we should see water start coming into here. Okay. Ready?
Yeah.
Kind of nervous that there's going to be leaks. Fingers crossed, no leaks. Pump's on. It's going. I have no idea if there's, oh gosh, this is exciting, Courtney. It should be self-priming. Oh, there it goes. Look. It's working. Oh, Courtney, it's working. Oh, look, see the light on the UV filter?
Oh, you could see water going through that line. Oh, it's cool, you can see the light.
Yeah, you can see the light. It's actually just a flow indicator light, but it's telling us that it's on and it's working. And look.
It's working.
There's our clean filtered water
No way.
coming out the other end. The flow is increasing a little bit as it works all the air out of the system.
Does it taste like corn?
I have a feeling right now it's gonna taste like hose. Like my childhood. Hose water. No, it tastes like nothing. It does not taste like the water that comes out of the faucet here.
Wait, we can make coffee with this.
We could make coffee with this. Yeah, we make coffee here and we just use the tap water because it's what we have. Like the coffee has a slight chlorine taste and smell. I can tell the difference between making coffee here and making coffee at our house where we have a great water filter system. I don't see any leaks. No way. No way.
You didn't.
This is so cool. Okay, and now I built the whole system upside down. No, it doesn't matter. I like that there's space in here for storage. So like we could probably get some smaller hoses that would fit in here, and we could even add a few spare filters in here and it just all be one little kit that we could put on the shelf in the garage. It's ready to go whenever we need it. But for now, we're gonna take it to the streets. Ready?
That's really cool.
Why am I so excited about this? We're gonna go find a puddle.
Like an actual puddle?
Yeah, like imagine in an actual emergency scenario, there's water all around us and all we need is a way to clean it so that it's safe to drink. This filter is actually gonna do the majority of the work in this process. So this is the one that's gonna get dirtiest the fastest and need to be replaced the most often, but this one's cleanable. So all we have to do is basically rinse it out and clean it and we can keep reusing it. So basically, can our pump suck through that filter? It's
Oh, Riley! Look, Riley!
yeah, okay, it's working now. It was sucking air on this side. I had to tighten the hose fitting.
Look!
It's working. It's working, Courtney. It's pumping water. The LED UV light is on. Our pump is pumping water through the pond. Dude, it's totally working. This is so cool.
Bring it.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Really? Tastes fine. Tastes good.
Like nothing?
Like nothing. Like bottled water. I'm not actually convinced that we need the flow restrictor now. Like I think just this filter is causing enough restriction in flow.
Where are we?
Whew, it's cold. All right, we're back at the mountain. We're at the pond, guys. So you guys have been asking so many comments for a pond update. So I guess this is also an opportunity to give you a pond update. Check out the pond. So this is our second spring with the pond, and so far we've had 0 problems with the dam and the overflow system that we installed 2 winters ago. And look, it's full.
Yeah, it is.
Last summer it had water in it year round, but by the end of the fall or like the beginning of fall, it was almost empty. So I think that this is completely a viable backup water source for us, whether it's for drinking or gardening or just home use. But look how dirty it is. There was even a duck swimming in it when we pulled up just now. Can I show you guys over here? So,
Whoa!
yeah, here's the outflow. Do you see that? It's like a full-on creek over here.
Holy cow!
But what's interesting is there's not like a creek flowing in it on the uphill side. This is just all that water percolating underground, ending up in this low spot. Static pressure of water is basically just causing it to flow out of the other end. So that's an update to the pond. The pond is working perfectly. Back to the task at hand. I'm gonna start by just showing you what this pond water looks like. I mean, this is just surface runoff, right? So this is running through the grass, the trees, the dirt, the elk poop, the deer poop. Like, who knows what's in this pond? Look at that rotting tree over there. Here's our before. Now we're gonna do a taste test. You weren't even gonna stop me?
No. Don't play chicken with me. All right.
Let's see what we can do. I'm thinking over here. When I was researching all of this, there was somebody made a funny point online, which was that so much of this like emergency water preparedness information focuses on how to make super dirty water drinkable. And this commenter says like, well, yeah, but in an actual emergency, you wouldn't be trying to make the dirtiest water drinkable. You'd be trying to figure out how to get pretty clean water drinkable and like wrap it in a t-shirt or start by first dumping water from one bucket into another with a t-shirt over the top. Try to get a lot of that junk out before you even get started. But we're trying to test for worst case scenario. So we're gonna see what this thing can do if we just put our pickup straight in the pond. All right, the pump is pumping. There it goes. The UV lamp and that flow rating, that 1 gallon per minute, the idea behind that is that any microorganisms, bacteria, viruses that might exist in the water, they need to have a certain amount of exposure to that UV light for it to work. And the only way to do that is to restrict the flow going through that light so that the water is in that light for enough time to get that exposure time. If you wanted a system with a higher flow than this, you'd use a bigger pump, a bigger filter, and a bigger UV light. So most of what we see here is just air bubbles. So we're gonna let that cloudiness dissipate. Okay, there we go. Before and after.
That's pretty incredible.
Yeah, I'm impressed. Like, that is clear water. And when you look at this water, it's clearly murky brown something. So I'm gonna call that a success. Now we do the taste test. Just kidding. You might call me Reckless Riley, but I think that'd be a little too reckless. So we're actually gonna send these water samples off to a lab and get them tested for bacteria, contaminants, heavy metal, all the above. We're throwing the book at it. We're gonna get these tested and find out how well this filter system really works. We're gonna call this one B. We're gonna call this one A. That'll be the before. And we're gonna call this one A. We're testing for things like heavy metals, contaminants, solids, mostly metals, heavy metals. And then we're also testing for bacteria, and we're testing for the existence of coliform bacteria. The coliform bacteria themselves don't necessarily make you sick, but it's a really easy way for us to test for the existence of bacteria. And if coliform bacteria exist, which are really common, those are things like E. coli that live in our guts. If those exist, then it's pretty likely to say that other potentially harmful bacteria might exist as well. So this sample bottle is the one they're gonna send off for basically all the contaminants like heavy metals. And then this sample bottle is the one that they'll use to test for the presence of bacteria. So it's got a stabilizing powder in it. And then we have to get this to the lab within 24 hours, ideally less than 12. Maybe you're not like me and you don't live off grid and you don't have a pond, but lots of people have pools and hot tubs. The general problem with spa water or hot tub water or pool water is that it is clean. It is sanitized by the chlorine that's in it, but the chlorine content is way too high to be able to safely drink it. And like, there's been, people's butts have been inside here. So now let's find out if the system can strip the chlorine out of the water. So our levels right now are between ideal and high. I feel like a mad scientist with my kit. Flushing the pond water out. I think that's actually a pretty good way to clean this filter. You can back flush it through the hose. Intake. Oh, that's the outlet. Intake. Should probably get a drinking water like safe hose for at least the output, probably both sides. So chlorine is a very effective way to sanitize water and kill bacteria, protozoa, viruses, but it is not safe for long-term human exposure at high levels. So using chlorine to sanitize water can be kind of tricky. And in an emergency, it's completely valid. A few drops of chlorine in a gallon of water, and that water will probably not make you sick immediately. But it might make you sick if you were to continue doing that as a long-term solution. I think something like this would be a much better long-term solution for your overall health, especially if it can pull the chlorine out, because then you could do both. I wonder how many gallons a drill battery can do. I bet it's a lot. We should test that. Oh, it's warm. That's funny.
Oh.
I wasn't really expecting that, but it's warm because it's a hot tub. That doesn't smell like a hot tub at all.
What?
Yeah, it just smells normal. Can I smell?
I thought for sure it was gonna smell like chlorine. Like,
No.
I fully expected this to not work.
Really?
Yeah. Can we swab it?
Yeah. I don't really know what to expect. I don't really have any experience with taking chlorine out of the water. Ready?
Yeah.
Can we use,
Point it this way.
can we turn a hot tub into drinking water?
Oh my gosh.
Nothing.
It worked.
It worked. No chlorine in this
Really?
water. Tastes fine. Tastes good. Tastes like drinking water.
It's amazing.
Opens up so many possibilities in an emergency, when we're camping, when we're out on adventures, like whatever we're doing, the solution in emergencies is bottled water. But for what we paid for this, it wouldn't take that many cases of water to pay for this system. Other than the carbon filter inside of here, none of this ever needs to be replaced. Rechargeable battery, cleanable filter. This LED UV lamp has a very, very, very long expected life, especially because it doesn't stay on all the time. It turns off and on. It's all relatively easy to get off the shelf stuff that can be replaced if it needed to be replaced. I think this is a very viable long-term solution for clean drinking water for our family. But we need to get our test results back to know, does it really make the water safe to drink? Great coffee requires great water. So today we're gonna find out if we can turn pond scum water into great Ambition Strikes Old Iron coffee. We're doing it dad style. It's probably about right. While we wait for that to brew, the water quality test results are in, and I haven't looked at these yet, so I guess we're about to find out if I can actually drink the coffee that comes out of this pond through this water filter. So starting with the most important information, was the UV light in this system able to kill bacteria? And the only way that we're gonna know that is if E. coli or coliform bacteria were present in the before sample. So, analyte, E. coli, present. Total coliform, present. Because that means we're actually testing the capability of this filter, because absent, which means there is a very high likelihood that this filter system is capable of filtering out harmful bacteria. Can you give me a high five?
Yeah. It works.
It works, guys. I don't want to say with certainty that this briefcase will be able to filter out any harmful bacteria, but based on these test results, there's a very high likelihood that it would filter out most harmful bacteria. And it makes me a lot more willing to drink dirty water like this through this filter. That is so exciting. Like, I think that is such cool science. Next one, arsenic and nitrate. Can this filter system filter out arsenic and nitrate? The answer is that we don't know, because none were detected. And maybe what that means for us is that we shouldn't draw our water from a source that's downstream from a gold mine. Calcium was reduced from 27.4 milligrams per liter down to 3 milligrams per liter, 10 times reduction. That's huge. And then this filter system was able to effectively reduce the iron to a safe drinking level of 0.045 milligrams per liter. It was able to reduce the manganese all the way down to 0.0012 milligrams per liter, which means that not only is our UV light effective at reducing the bacteria contamination, but also that the filter system is able to reduce the contamination levels of heavy metals. Wow. And that means that I get to drink my coffee. Turns out we can make great coffee from pond scum water. To get your Ambition Strikes coffee, head on over to ambitionstrikes.com. At the end of the day, this isn't a project about gadgets. It's about knowing that my family has safe drinking water no matter what happens. And the best part is that this entire system, pumps, UV light, filters, it cost me just $276 to build. Portable, battery powered, and ready whenever I need it. And if you like this video and want more off-grid content, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Taking it to the streets. Like, I started thinking about a headlamp I could wear while mountain biking that used like an off-road LED light bar screwed to my helmet visor, and then I could have one of those drill batteries like in a little fanny pack. Could you imagine?